Hey, I'm so glad to be with you. I had a Q&A, and one of the questions was really good, and I wanted to share this with you about whether we should forgive and forget. So stay tuned with me and hear what we talked about. Hi, I'm Brenda Reese, freedom and forgiveness coach, and a person just like you that is learning to navigate life and all of its challenges. I teach a forgiveness process like no other. It's a blend of practical and spiritual forgiveness. This process guides you into knowing how unforgiveness can be keeping you stuck in your relationships, both personally and professionally, and how it prevents you from releasing resentment and finding joy. Each week, I share practical and some not so practical tips, tools, and advice from myself and other people that are on this journey just like us. This is for you if you are ready to turn your pain into peace. Welcome to the Forgive Yourself podcast. When I had a Q&A last month, this is where you get an opportunity to send in a question ahead of time, and you can be live on the call or you can just get the replay. And one of the questions I wanted to share with you, because this comes up a lot, and what I find is a lot of people get confused about the process of forgiveness, but this particular process where it is about forgiving and forgetting. The question was, it is difficult for me to forget. How do I know if I have fully forgiven people for the hurt they have caused? Now, here's my answer from the Q&A, and then I want to talk a little bit about it. I shared that we don't forget. We're not meant to forget. We've got this hard drive up here in our head that remembers everything. Our subconscious is on 24/7. Now, it's for a good reason, because we also don't want to forget everything because we want to learn from it so we don't do it again. When we can identify our beliefs and patterns, then we can learn not to go in that direction, right? So we can learn how to identify and stop ourselves from falling into an old pattern. So on the call, we had talked about what forgiveness is and isn't, and in this case, I had used one of my patterns was attracting emotionally unavailable men. And I started noticing that they have the same kind of patterns. Okay. In doing the work, as I started to heal and do the work, I noticed that I was still attracting them. It's like, what? What the heck? What's going on? But what I was doing was I was changing the pattern. So I was identifying these signs quicker. So that, as an example, means I don't want to forget what those patterns were or what I'm watching out for, because I want to learn from it. And then pretty soon, as I did more work on it, I was able to shift it to where I don't attract emotionally unavailable men. Mainly because I'm not emotionally unavailable anymore either, because it does come back to us. So bottom line, you don't want to forget, but you can definitely take the sting out of the memory. It's like separating the bee from the sting. And we can do that through the forgiveness work that I teach. Because if we have been betrayed, it's so hard. And when we've been abused, it's so hard. But there is a way that we can learn from it so that we don't stay stuck in the pain of that memory, guiding us to move forward without feeling the chains of attachment to the past. Now, how can you tell when you have forgiven someone? There are some markers to tell you when you have forgiven someone. Now, keep in mind that forgiveness takes time, but there are ways along the way that we can look for to kind of give us a guide. So the first one I want to share is to acknowledge that you're even willing to forgive in the freaking first place. I mean, just that right there. You being willing to forgive is more than 98% of the population. So really honor yourself for that. Give yourself a whole bunch of credit. Now, the other way to tell is if you begin to see this person in a different light. There is a softening that starts to happen as you do the work. So instead of really wanting revenge, you're starting to soften and see them as a human being. Now, you're going to look at them in a different light. And this can take some time, depending upon what kind of work you're doing around forgiveness. If you're just letting time happen, it's going to take a long time. If you're actively doing some forgiveness work, then it's going to shorten that time period. I remember when I started the forgiveness work, there was a study out, I think it was in the 80s or 90s, that said that it would take 20 years to forgive like the traditional way. And the creator of the radical forgiveness process, Colin Tipping, said, no, I work with people who've got cancer. They don't have 20 years to forgive. And so that's how the radical forgiveness process was born, which shortens the period of time, or it can, if you're willing, it can shorten the period of time for forgiveness. Now, the third way to tell if you're forgiving, what you want to look for is if your negative thoughts wane. When you think about that person less and the negative thoughts change, you might start feeling a little bit of positive thought and feeling towards that person, possibly. You want to watch for that. Or actually, you might start feeling more neutral. That was for me. No, not positive or negative, not good or bad. And that's a really good way to tell. Now, the fourth thing to watch for is there's also a deeper level where you will get to where you can express kindness and generosity to that person. Yeah, it does happen. Now, it doesn't have to be like in person, but it can be in your thoughts. Now, sometimes we're not able to reach that far. That's okay. But this is just another way. It's a really deeper level where you can tell. Now, it also depends upon the abuse that happened. But the people that work with me and the forgiveness work that I teach, we have a way through the radical forgiveness technology to where we're able to look at the abuser or perpetrator or unkind person in a totally different way. And I've had clients that despised their parents or their ex or their colleague when we started working together, and they were able to get to a place where they could look at them in kindness. Now, it didn't mean reconciling some of the time. Sometimes it did. But it is a way that they could remove the heaviness from themselves. And usually it was so surprising to my clients because they never thought they could get there. And so I want you to watch for that. That's a deeper level of forgiving. But as you continue to progress in your commitment to forgiveness, because remember, this is a process and a practice. Remember, it's not a one and done deal. You will start to feel more relief from those recurring thoughts about what they've done to you. And then you start noticing you have a decreased periods of anger and anxiety and depression. That's a huge sign. You yourself start feeling lighter and you want to engage in more with other people, actually start engaging in life, because anytime that we've been hurt, right, or we have a resentment, we separate ourselves. And we do that out of safety, out of trauma. So it's important to watch for these signs about feeling lighter, feeling like we're having less periods of anger and anxiety and depression. And number 5 is what my clients share with me is that they can tell because they have a renewed sense of purpose in their life. This has been a really good question, and I'm really grateful that you asked it. So watch for these markers. It's a shift in our energy, it's a shift in our thoughts, and it's a shift in our feelings. And if you're waiting, like if you're just allowing time to happen, that could possibly take a long time. I could not do that about my ex. Actually, to be honest, I was feeling like I really wanted my ex to die. I thought my life would be so much better if he would just freaking die. I mean, really, I was hurting so bad. And I remember my therapist at the time told me, okay, honey, yep, keep that in your head. Don't do anything with it. It's a normal feeling, but just don't act on it. But I really did just want him out of my life. I thought that would be so much better, just to be gone. because of the abuse that I suffered and the emotional pain, the hurt that I was experiencing. Now, before the forgiveness work, I was just trusting that time would heal the pain. But what I did, I kept getting triggered and I kept getting triggered, and he looked like he was doing well and I was pissed off at him. And then I started to do this forgiveness work. And in a short period of time, I was able to see it in a different light. I was able to feel different. And it took me a shorter period of time to get there. Now, meaning the shorter period of time, meaning a year to a year and a half. It still took some time because I had a lot of healing to do from these patterns. But who knows how long it would have taken me just to allow time to happen. I don't know. Maybe 20 years, maybe never. I don't know. And still today, I don't have any feelings at all. I'm neutral. Actually, I'm a little bit more than neutral because I have actually caring feelings for my ex now, because I can look at the years that we shared together before it got abusive, before we were both wounded and hurt, before that our patterns started playing out. I don't know what the situation is for you, and I'm sad that you are going through what you are going through and what you went through. But I hope that this can help you kind of mark where you're at, and I encourage you to do the forgiveness work around it because that's going to help you feel better quicker. So that was my answer to this wonderful question that this person posed in this Q&A. And what I wanted to add for you, my beautiful listener, is that on this call, a client was on the call and she shared that she wasn't expecting the softening that I had talked about when she started working with me. She was really wanting to stick with her story and what she called vengeful thinking. Yet as she was able to see and feel gratitude towards a family member, she was able to release the anger. She could see that they didn't do it to hurt her per se. They did it because they themselves were hurting. And that surprised her so much that she could actually feel that and see that. She continued to share that with this happening, there was more room for creativity and growth. Her business changed drastically. She shared that how she approaches her business changed and how she approaches money changed and how she approached her clients. It changed. It softened. Her approach softened. She found she had more room in her heart and mind, and that is what she found so delightfully surprising. So I want to share with you that we want to be able to have that softness because it's so harsh when we hold a resentment, and it's harsh against ourselves because even though we're trying to keep people out, we keep ourselves stuck inside, right? It's so hard. So we're not able to be creative. We're not able to be imaginative. We're not able to give ourselves to the world because we're so busy protecting ourselves from it. And that's what forgiveness can do, is allow us to soften. It doesn't make what they did right. It doesn't condone their behavior. It doesn't mean you reconcile. It means that you love yourself enough to do the work for you, not for them. So my friend, I hope that this was helpful for you, and maybe you might find it helpful to share with other people. And keep in mind that we are having more Q&As over the next few months. So be sure to be on my email list, or you can watch on social media for the sign up if you have any questions. Plus, there's offers coming out where you can get a personalized video from me with your question for a nominal fee. And that's really good. I'm wanting to give ways and ideas that we can heal ourselves. Because remember, when we forgive ourselves and heal ourselves, we create a forgiving world. So until next time, know that I'm thinking of you and that you matter. You make a difference in this world by being here. You really do. Thank you so much for listening today. I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did enjoy it, would you do me a favor and share this episode and then follow us on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss one episode of the Forgive Yourself podcast, where every Friday you will get tips, tools, and stories so that you can turn your pain into peace. Take care.